Ginola, Sheringham, Kane, King, Mabbutt. Spurs have had some wonderful players during the Premier League era. And today, I'm going to pick my Spurs all-time Premier League 11. Welcome to Nick's COYS Corner. Before we start, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to click the bell to receive notifications. Okay, so something a little bit different today, as promised. I'm going to pick my all-time Premier League 11, as I said. I've got some rules that I've set out for myself. So they include me not picking a fantasy 11, so not just putting 4 strikers on the pitch. I saw a team recently that had Robbie Keane in centre midfield, so there'll be none of that in this video. It will be a team that I think could feasibly compete in the real world today in the Premier League. So I'll try and keep it a balanced lineup, and I'll run you through why I've picked players at the end in terms of making the team as strong as possible. They have to be Premier League players that I remember playing well. There's a few that would come into that kind of 92 to 95 category, 96 maybe, that I don't remember that well. And so this video will be probably mostly players beyond that time. There's 1 or 2 that kind of cross that period slightly. But yeah, just because, I was born in 87, so it wouldn't be fair for me to pick players I don't remember seeing that well. I've gone with a 4-3-3 shape for this team, and the team will be constructed around that shape and to get the most out of the players in the team. And I've created a shortlist for each position. So I'll run you through the shortlist, the players that made the shortlist, and why I ultimately chose the players that I did for each position. Lastly, and most importantly, I want your participation. I want to know who you would pick in your all-time Premier League 11 for Spurs. I want to know who you disagree with from my picks. Was this a glaring omission that you were really upset about? Let me know in the comments, but most importantly, let me know your teams in the comments below. I really want to see them, and I want you to shout at the screen, how could you not pick him, and tell me why. So we'll start with goalkeeper. So the goalkeeper shortlist, I've gone with Ian Walker, Heurelho Gomez, Paul Robinson, and Hugo Lloris. Now this one was pretty easy to start me off. Walker had a couple of decent seasons. I don't remember him as well because, as I said, I was younger, but I also remember having some pretty bad spells as well. Gomez was a bit hit and miss as well. He could be really good on his day, but he had quite a lot of erratic periods for us. Robinson was a relatively decent goalkeeper for us, although he had a bit of a weakness from long range shots. But for me, the choice is obvious. It's Hugo Lloris, captain for a long period, and was really consistent for a good run of seasons as well. Really good sweeper keeper initially, pulled off some incredible stops for us, and was just part of a defensive unit in probably the best spell that we've had in the league since we won the league, to be honest, back in the 60s. So had to be Hugo, great goalkeeper, and he goes in goal for this team. Now for the right-back shortlist. So I've got 3 players for the right-back shortlist. I've got Stephen Carr, Carl Walker, and I've put Pedro Porro in as well. Now Pedro Porro hasn't done it for the same amount of time, really, at the same level, I think, as the other 2. But he's a really good player, and I look forward to seeing how he continues to develop for us. Stephen Carr was a fantastic player. I remember him as a young boy. He was kind of the reason for a period where you went to watch Spurs for entertainment. It was the right back providing the entertainment. That's kind of how bad we were and how good he was. I remember him flying down the flank from right back. He scored some cracking goals, got a lot of assists, was just a fantastic bombarding right back down the right-hand side, and I loved him. And the other pick, obviously, is Carl Walker. Now, for me, Carl Walker is probably the fastest fullback to ever play the game. He developed with us over a period of time. I think he got better and better. He was the type of player who could lock down an entire flank. Pretty much no one could go past him because they just couldn't keep away from him. He'd just catch them up instantly. He was super strong. His athleticism was world class. And he just became this absolute top class right back. For me, he is not only Spurs' best ever right back, I think he's the Premier League's greatest ever right back as well. And I think there's a reason Guardiola worked so hard to get him from us. because he knew he'd be the final piece of the jigsaw for City in being able to play high up the pitch, because Kyle Walker was, quite frankly, a cheat code with his recovery speed and his ability to just essentially lock down that part of the pitch. So Kyle Walker is the right back in this team for me. For left back, the shortlist is as follows. I've got Christian Ziga, Benoit Suikoto, Danny Rose, and I've put Destiny Udogie in as well. Now, Destiny isn't going to be in the team. He's in the shortlist, but I think if I came back to this in a few years' time, he may make it. If he can stay fit and he keeps developing, I think Destiny could be the best left back on this list in another few years' time. So we'll come back to this video maybe in 4 or 5 years and see if it's changed. But next up is Danny Rose, a vital cog in the Pochettino team. He had a period of probably 3 or 4 seasons, 3 seasons maybe, where he was absolutely fantastic. And him and Walker had that partnership at fullback, which was just unbelievable. And we were so hard to beat down the sides, but we were also hard to beat through the middle. And it just made that defensive unit so strong. Really, really good player. He improved going forward as well. And whilst he never became like this amazing end product machine, I think there was clear development in his game. And his aggression, his tenacity, and his overall quality really continued to improve, and he became a fantastic player for us for that, particularly for that kind of 3-season period or so that I mentioned. Suikoto, he improved significantly, became a solid left back, but he did lack the quality, I think, of maybe some of the others on this list, and he lacked the drive as well to really get better and better, and he was still inconsistent for spells. So Suikoto makes the shortlist, doesn't make the team. And then there's Ziga. Wonderful left foot on him. Played more as a wing back really for us than a left back from memory. If I'm wrong, let me know. But from what I remember, is more of a wing back. Certainly at his best as a wing back. But he was a great player as well. But ultimately, I've gone for Danny Rose in the team. Yes, you could say perhaps he didn't do it for quite long enough. For me, the period he did have, he was exceptional. And as I said, he was part of a team that was fantastic, and he was just brilliant. Consistent as well, and yeah, I just think he became a fantastic player for us, and he deserves his place in this team because he hit the best levels I've seen a left back hit for us so far anyway. Oh boy, this is where it gets tough now. Centre backs. So on my shortlist, I've got Ledley King, Gary Mabbutt, Jan Vertonghen, and Toby Alderweireld. Now, Gary Mabbutt was a wonderful servant for the club. I remember him a little bit, and he was a great player as well. I don't think he's as good as the other 3 players on this shortlist, but I wanted to pay respect to him because he was a fantastic captain from what I remember. Everyone speaks so highly of him as well. I've actually met him a couple of times at these kind of meet and greet events, and he was always such a lovely man. And I think he was a fantastic servant to our club, and he deserves his place on the shortlist. The King, Ledley. What more can you say about this man? I maintain to this day that if it hadn't been for the injuries, I think he may have gone down as possibly the greatest defender to play the game. I'm putting him right up there, certainly in players I've seen, because he was a phenomenon. Strong, fast, good on both feet, fantastic in the air. He was just an all-round fantastic player, and it's such a shame what happened with his injuries. The fact he was able to hit the levels he did for us when he was barely able to train is quite remarkable. And he's just a cut above so many defenders I've seen, and the benchmark really, if you want to be a top class defender. So the King is on the shortlist, of course. Then we've got Super Jan. Super Jan. I loved watching Jan Vertonghen. Even back in his Ajax days, I watched him and I thought, I'd love to see this guy play for Spurs. And then he did. And he got better and better, particularly when Pochettino came in and the team really settled. That's when he really developed and became the Jan we know and love. Fantastic left foot, able to drive up the pitch, brilliant passer of the ball, a really cultured player, classy, composed. And he obviously formed a phenomenal partnership as well with Toby. Just a wonderful player and well worthy of his place on this list, and played a major part in having the best defensive record that I've ever seen a Spurs team have. And lastly, Toby. Now, when I watched Toby for Ajax, actually, originally I wasn't anywhere near as impressed as I was with Vertonghen. And I was even unsure when we signed him because at Atletico he hadn't done great. Southampton I know he did quite well, but I wasn't 100% convinced. But boy, did he change my mind quite quickly. After a few games, he really settled in. He started to play at such a great level, and I grew to love Toby so much. I mean, those diagonal pings that he used to pull off game after game were just a joy to watch. And he was a fantastic defender. He could get stuck in, he could pass the ball. You know, he had that mixture of class, but also tenacity in his defending. And his partnership with Jan, like I mentioned, was phenomenal. Ultimately, I have to choose two. And it's been a tough one. But I have gone for the King and Jan Vertonghen. So it's hard for me to leave Toby out, because part of me was like, well, I have to put Toby and Jan in for their partnership, right? But I just couldn't bring myself to leave Ledley King out, because like I said, I genuinely think, even with his injuries, he's one of the greatest defenders I've ever seen. And I think certainly without them, he would have been the greatest defender, certainly, that I'd ever seen. So I have to pick him. It's tough, but I've gone with Vertonghen and King. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know other people's picks in this area in particular, because it was tough for me to choose those two out of three. Three wonderful players, and Mabit as well was a great player. So I said to midfield, I need to pick two players for this position, and then I've got one attacking midfielder ahead of them. So the two centre midfielders, I've gone for a mix of kind of creative and defensive qualities, looking for like ball retention, passing ability, creativity, and a bit of strength as well. So my shortlist included Luka Modric, Moussa Dembele, Victor Wanyama, Sandro, and Michael Carrick. Now, Parker didn't make my list. I went for Wanyama and Sandro over Parker. Now, none of them did it for particularly long spells. I just think that the best level that they reached, Wanyama and Sandro, were slightly better than Parker. And I really love Scott Parker. I loved him when I was young as well. I really wanted us to sign him when he was at Charlton. But I think Wanyama and Sandro hit higher levels for us at their best. That's why I put them on the shortlist ahead of him. Michael Carrick didn't play for a particularly long period for us either. Really good player. I don't think I really appreciated him fully when I was younger. But kind of as I've got older and I've appreciated the game more, I think my understanding of it has improved, and my appreciation for him has grown as well. Fantastic kind of deep line playmaker, composed, could keep the ball ticking over, and could read the game to cut attacks out as well. So when Carrick has to make the list. And then that leaves me with Dembele and Modric. I mean, how can I not make those two the two centre midfielders, right? I reckon most of you are probably thinking the same. Like, those two have to go in. Now, I know neither of them are a holding midfielder, but I think together, Dembele and him could cover enough space. And with the back four behind them that I've chosen, I think we've got enough cover there. Not 100% ideal, but I don't think teams would ever manage to get the ball off of Dembele and Modric if you combine them, right? I mean, the ball retention skills of Dembele were just freakish. He could just hold 3 or 4 players off, keep the ball. His strength was unbelievable, and he could just dribble through anyone and keep the ball in any situation. And then you've got Modric, who could do the same in a different way and just slalom away from people and drop a shoulder and just dictate the game with his passing. And I think the combination of those two players would just be a mouth-watering prospect in the middle of midfield. So no out-and-out holder, but I think the two of them as a pair would work, and we'd certainly keep the ball so well, would be so hard to stop with their mix of abilities. Let me know your thoughts in the comments though. Would you play a slightly different mix in midfield, or do you agree with me? Is it Dembele and Modric? For me, it had to be those two. Attacking midfield next. So I've got Christian Eriksen, Rafa van der Vaart, Dele Alli, and Nick Barmby. So with Barmby, I was younger than when I watched the others, but from what I do remember, he was full of energy. He was great at crashing into the box, and for a period, he was a super highly rated player for us. And a lot of people were really upset when he left, including my dad. I think he was really upset when he left Middlesbrough, I think it was. Dele was fantastic for us when he broke in that season. Some of the goals, the output from such a young player was unbelievable, and his development just went shoom like that, and he just became this sensation overnight. And he played a key role in a team that was, unbelievable, and the best that I've seen in the Premier League era for Spurs. So he had to go in the shortlist, and he was full of those magic moments as well, like the Palace goal away when he flicked it over his head and volleyed it in. I remember sitting in the Dublin Supporters Club. I was on a stag do, and it was in the official supporters club, and I remember the reaction when that goal went in. It was just, everyone went crazy and jumped up, and it was a fantastic memory I've got of Dele Alli and the impact he had on our team. Van der Vaart, well, I freaked out when we signed him. I remember it very well. Sky Sports News saying it was breaking the story. We're signing Rafa van der Vaart, and I went crazy. A player of real class, a match winner, someone that would turn up in the big games, and just full of that Spurs. I'm going to use the term Spursiness in a good way. You know, to dare is to do, class, flair. That kind of Spursiness. That's my kind of Spursiness. And Van der Vaart had that. He had that Spurs style about him. And he fit in like a glove. And he was so loved by the fans. He had a great connection. He understood, I think, what the club was all about. And he was a fantastic player. And some of his link play with Modric was brilliant to watch. So he had to go in. I mean, what an impact he had in a short period of time for us. So I've named some great players, but I'm going to name now, for me, the best of the lot in attacking midfield, and that's Christian Eriksen. His quality was undoubtedly world-class, in my opinion. His ability to run matches through his positioning, his intelligence, knowing where to go to dictate the game and slow the game down or speed the game up. The quality of some of his passing and his crossing was just ridiculous. I mean, those crosses, those half-space crosses for Dele in the Chelsea home game, for example, in 16-17, two of them in the same match. The FA Cup semi-final that year, and a phenomenal pass/cross. Just a phenomenal player. Someone I enjoyed watching so much. A great presser as well. Not someone who could go smashing into challenges, but uses his brain to cut off passing lanes and help us press and use his energy. And he never stopped running either. Just a fantastic player and brilliant off both feet as well. And that's the thing about him. He could do it off both feet. At any angle, he can make things happen. And for me, he's the greatest attacking midfielder I've seen play for Spurs in the Premier League era. So on to the wide players. And the shortlist for the wide players is as follows. Got Gareth Bale, Darren Anderton, David Ginola, Heung-Min and Aaron Lennon. I've narrowed it down to those guys. Obviously, Darren Anderton was a great player for us. I remember him as a boy and growing up, and he was a really good footballer. Obviously, suffered with a lot of injuries, and I do think that kind of stunted his development and stopped him reaching the levels he may have reached if he'd managed to stay fit. But even with those injuries, he was still a really good player for us. And he was at the club, I think, for about 12 seasons. So a great servant as well. So I remember him, and yeah, he's worthy of a place on the shortlist for sure. David Ginola needs no introduction. Like I mentioned with Carr, there was another spell where going to Spurs was basically all about David Ginola. It was the David Ginola show. And we went to get entertainment from him. Who can forget that goal against Barnsley, you know? And some of the strikes, I remember some off both feet from distance. Wonderful flair. Just another real Spurs player for me. You know, someone that summed up what we're about, the flair, the dribbling, the skill. Loved watching David Ginola growing up, and he was a beautiful player. Heung-Min a modern day Spurs legend, a European trophy winning captain. How good does that feel to say? Still gets me to this day. I'm buzzing. I'm so happy he got that trophy before he left. What can you really say about this guy? World-class phenomenal. Finishing off both feet, speed, world-class movement as well. The ability to find pockets and just get shots off at different angles. So dangerous in his partnership with Harry Kane. He terrorised defences for such a long period, and he was so consistent with his output after his first season. Has any player ever scored that many bangers on either foot from range? Because I think his goal catalogue is up there with the very best players in football history, let alone Premier League history, because I've not seen many players that can score from range on both feet like he could. Love him. We'll always love him. We'll always thank him for the service he gave our club and for sticking by us and helping us to win that Europa League. And listen, he had to go on the shortlist. It was inevitable. And then we've got Aaron Lennon. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I love Aaron Lennon, and I always have. From the moment he broke through and he came on a home to Chelsea, I believe it was, and he darted through the middle of the pitch and Gallas and Terry had to take him out together. Such was his explosiveness. You know, rarely have we had a player that would get me off my feet as regularly and as strongly as Aaron Lennon did. Every time the ball went out to him, you can just hear the seats clanging as everyone got up. And I can still hear that now. He was a wonderful player to watch. You could square anyone up and explode past them. He was more skillful than I think he's given credit for. I think his first touch is hugely underrated. The amount of times I watched people ping long passes to him and he would bring it down on a sixpence where so many others would need a couple of touches. Just a brilliant player, and I wish he'd had someone like Kane to feed at his best. I know they played together right near the end of Len's career here, but I wish he'd had a striker like Kane in that kind of redknapp team, because I think he would have got a lot more assists as well, because there were so many times he put the ball across goal and nothing came of it, quite frankly. And it was really frustrating to watch, because then you get the whole no end product and stuff. But I think there was so many times he should have had an assist and didn't get one. Love him. Absolutely love Aaron Lennon. And even in the Vets games recently we played for our legends, still looks like he has it. And I still love watching him to this day. So brilliant. And Aaron has to go into this shortlist. And last but not least, Gareth Bale. And again, anyone that knows me knows I'm a little bit of a fan of Gareth Bale, and I always have been. I remember that night in the San Siro very, very well. I travelled to there and I was mind blown by the stadium and the fact we were in the Champions League. And quite frankly, at half time, I was pretty much in tears because I was embarrassed by what was happening in the match. And I just didn't want to see that happen to my club. And then the second half was just surreal and magical. And it's a privilege that I was there to witness that Gareth Bale masterclass live and to score 3 goals of that quality against an opponent like Inter Milan. And that summed him up. This guy just got better and better. He was a machine. He was super strong, super fast. He had an incredible ability to increase his sprint speed when you already thought he was at his top speed. And I don't think I've ever seen that from another player. He was already sprinting, you think that's him done, and then he'd go up another gear. And I've never seen it. And it was like he was playing PlayStation or something. I remember when he knocked the ball past Lucio at home to Inter Milan, and he just completely destroyed him. And it was like watching a kid play football where you're not worried about giving the ball away and you just knock the ball past people in the park. And that's how he played it. And he was just a phenomenon. His skill, his left foot was top quality. I mean, he went through that period under AVB where every shot he took seemed to go in. I mean, he was winning matches left, right and centre for us. And just a fantastic player. One of my favourite ever players. And look, what more can I say about him? He was incredible. I think probably the best British player of all time as well, when you consider what he did at Madrid and what he won. So he has to go in the shortlist. So the moment of truth for the wide players, I've gone with Gareth Bale and Heung-Min Son. There'll be a few people out there watching this and know me who might be thinking, oh, he was going to put Aaron Lennon in. And I love Aaron, like I said, but it had to be Bale and Son. These two guys reached world-class levels for us, and they have to go into the all-time Premier League 11. I think these two are just unbelievable footballers. And picturing it now and seeing Bale on the right and Son on the left, that's how I'd set them up, cutting in onto their stronger feet, but also being able to just destroy defenders one-on-one, link with the striker and Eriksen, who I've picked in midfield, obviously, just would be incredible. And I know, obviously, we saw Son, Kane and Bale play together for that period, but it wasn't quite the same. And I'd love to have seen it when they were all at their prime. So it's Bale and Son for the wide areas, and that just leaves striker. Shortlist is as follows: Teddy Sheringham, Harry Kane, Dimitar Berbatov, Robbie Keane, and Jermaine Defoe. So the old Keane and Defoe debate. I can still picture it now, and on the forums and in the ground. You know, Keane's better, Defoe's better, Keane's better, Defoe's better. Both really good footballers for us, and people have their preferences. But at the end of the day, they both scored a lot of goals for us. They both played for us for quite a long time. and they were great servants. And they both had skills that they brought to the table, which were brilliant to watch. You know, Defoe's snapshots and the ability to get shots off when you didn't think he had space. Kane's intelligence and his guile and ability to, you know, play off the cuff, little tricks and flicks, and then find ridiculous finishes and partner with other players. So two fantastic players. They had to go on the shortlist. Teddy Sheringham was my hero growing up. I used to have him on the back of my shirt, and I loved him. And I remember a lot of his goals. I remember a lot of his good performances, and I was devastated when he left for Man United and happy when he came back. So Teddy had to go in. Brilliant header of the ball, so intelligent. He was kind of that original striker that could also play 10 as well, and had the playmaking ability. Had the ability to improve and enhance whoever he was partnered with. Obviously a 4-4-2 most of the time when he played back then. And just a wonderful footballer. Some of his finishes were just ridiculous. And a great striker. Was an easy pick for the shortlist, really. We got Dimitar Berbatov. About as graceful as it gets. This guy, again, another Spurs player. Flair, skill. His touch was unbelievable. I mean, just the ability to bring it down, whatever angle, and just, it was like the ball was attached to his boot on a piece of string and he was just toying with it, you know. Put in an absolute masterclass. I believe it was, we did it twice actually. Bolton at home, I think we went down to 10 men. And I'm pretty sure City away, the year we won the League Cup under Ramos, I think Zakora got sent off and I think Berbatov had to go on his own because I think Defoe went off. And he was unbelievable. But particularly in that Bolton game at home, I really remember just what a masterclass. And this guy was a phenomenal player. And shame he didn't stay longer. But, you know, at that time we couldn't really compete with United. And it was a shame we lost him. But brilliant striker for us. Scored a lot of fantastic goals and was a joy to watch. And lastly, Harry Kane, the club's record goal scorer, came through the ranks as a schoolboy and became the greatest striker around. Kane could do it all, couldn't he? Finishing off both feet, dropping deep and playmaking like Kevin De Bruyne, or being a fox in the box like Gary Lineker. He could do anything. He could head the ball, he could score from range, he could score inside the box. And he just got better and better, and the level he reached consistently was unbelievable, and the amount of goals he scored was unbelievable. I remember growing up watching Henry for Arsenal and thinking, I wish we had a striker like that. And then when Harry came along, not only did we get a striker of that calibre, but we got someone who actually came through the ranks as well. And that was really special. A golden goose for the academy, really, a player like Harry Kane, a top professional as well as a great footballer. Just a brilliant player, world-class striker, still going to this day. England's record goal scorer as well. What more can I say about him? Just unbelievable. And another player who enhanced those around him, I think. And that's why Harry Kane is my striker that goes into the 11. So, there we have the completed team. Hugo Lloris in goal, Kyle Walker at right back, Danny Rose at left back, Jan Vertonghen and Ledley King at centre back, Moussa Dembele and Luka Modric in centre midfield, Heung-Min Son, Christian Eriksen and Gareth Bale behind Harry Kane. I think that team is nicely balanced. The only question mark would be the lack of a true holder. But I think, like I said, that team's got enough about it to just keep the ball against most opponents and blow so many teams away that I don't think it would pose too much of an issue. And the defence is so strong as well. Basically, we're not going to concede many. And I think that team, if it played today in today's Premier League, would 100% have the capability of winning the title because it's just full of ridiculously good players. Goals from everywhere. You've got goals everywhere there. You've got like Bale, Son and Kane at their peak are getting so many goals. Then you've got Eriksen who always contributed as well. So I think just as an attacking force, it'd be unbelievable to watch. And it's a shame it's not real. But still nice to do these things and imagine it. And cool, it would be some Spurs team to watch, wouldn't it, eh? It really would. What do you think of my team? And what would your team be? Would you change anything in my lineup? Would you change maybe a different player in there? Would you change the shape to a different formation to fit someone else in, for example? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to know your teams and who you'd pick. Please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel and click the bell to receive notifications. And as always, come on you Spurs!